everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. Welcome back to the 2021 Flux Summer Crochet Along. We are working on some beautiful projects. This is our Summer Spa Getaway collection. We are making some spa themed projects for this whole crochet along, and we have been making all kinds of fun things. We have a few more things to make. And today we're going to be making this really cute spa soap saver. If you're not familiar with this, you can put a bar of soap in here, and it's sort of like a built-in washcloth. It's also nice to travel with, or you can also take some of, if you use bars of soap, you can use, when you get like soap scraps, like when you've used up your soap and you just have like a little piece left, you can throw those in here and use it as well like that. We're going to be using the same closed shell stitch that we've done for a lot of the other projects, and we're going to be using one of the colors on our color palette. So far we've been using 3 colors, purple, an ecru, and an aqua. So this sort of, the stitch and the color sort of goes along with our spa theme. Also, so we're going to learn how to do the stitch, learn how to seam it. We're actually just going to be making a rectangle and seaming it together. So super easy. And then we're also going to add a loop, so that when you put your soap scraps or your bar of soap inside, when you pull it shut, it'll keep everything in there. And then when you're not using it, you can also use the loop to hang it to dry, so that it will be nice and ventilated and nice and dry for you to use next time. So let's get started. I just want to give you some quick measurements. The height of this is about 5 inches. And then the width, the finished width, the seam, after it's seamed, is about 3 inches. And then our loop sticking out the top is about 2 inches tall, okay? So again, this is super easy. And before we get started, I want to tell you about our Ravelry group and our Facebook group. The links are below. That's where all of our cowl makers hang out. You can hop on there and show off your work. You can ask questions. So the links are below. And please join us. We have lots of fun in both groups. So let's get started. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, a ruler or tape measure, super helpful to get the dimensions that you'll need. And we're going to be using a 5mm H crochet hook. We're actually going to be using this same H hook for all the projects in our Spa Getaway collection. And we're also going to be using the same yarn for all the projects. And today, I'm going to be using this pretty aqua. This is Lion Brand's 24/7 cotton. This is a cotton yarn. We're not going to use the whole ball, but you can use the rest of the yarn for some of the other projects in the series. This is a 4 medium on the yarn weight scale. And I wanted to point out that this particular yarn that I'm using recommends a 4mm G crochet hook. And if you notice, we're going up a hook size, and that's because a lot of these spa things that we're making in our spa collection get wet. So going up a hook size, I'm hoping that it'll open up the stitches and allow for quicker drying of all your pretty spa items that you'll be making. So again, this is the aqua colorway, and it kind of matches the other things in our series. So let's get started. To begin, we're going to put a slip knot on our hook. Wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook into the loop, bring up that center loop, and tighten. Next, we're going to do a starting chain of 31. If you need to change your soap saver, if you want to make it bigger or smaller, it is a multiple of 6 plus 1. We're going to be doing the same closed shell stitch as some of the other projects, so it kind of matches, and the yarn colors are matching and the stitches are matching and things, so it'll look like a complete set. So our starting chain is 31. To make a chain, wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31. So let me just get this yarn out of the way here. So what we want to do is eventually, this will be the width of our rectangle, and we will fold it and seam it. So the soap will go in that way, okay? So for row 1, what we're going to do is in the 4th chain from the hook, work 2 double crochets. This loop here does not count, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in that 4th chain from the hook, work 2 double crochet. To make a double crochet, wrap the yarn around the hook, insert the hook into that chain, bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops, and then you'll put 1 more double crochet in that same chain. Just like that. Then what we're going to do is skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and in the chain after that, we're going to work a single crochet. So to work a single crochet, insert the hook into that chain, bring up a loop, and then wrap yarn around hook and bring it through both loops. Then we're going to skip 2 chains. In the chain after that, we're going to work 4 double crochets into that chain. Okay, so 1, 2, whoops, let me get some more yarn. My yarn ball is following me around. So that was 2, and then 3, and then 4. Okay? Then we're going to skip 2 chains. In the chain after that, work a single crochet. Skip 2 chains. In the chain after that, we're going to work 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, once again, skip 2 chains. In the chain after that, work a single crochet this time. Then skip 2 chains. In the chain after that, work 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, next, skip 2 chains. In the chain after that, work a single crochet, and we're getting into the home stretch here at the end. And then what we're going to do is skip 2 chains. In the chain after that, work 4 double crochets. This is the last shell of the row. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you should have 3 chains left at the end of the round, or row rather. Skip 2 chains, and in that very last chain, work a single crochet. Okay. So if you've made any of these closed shell stitch projects with me for this series, all this will seem kind of familiar. If not, then hang out with me for a little bit longer. So for row 2, let's move right on to row 2. What we're going to do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn our work. And then at the base of that chain 3 we just did is a single crochet from the previous row. See that big loop at the bottom? We're going to work 2 double crochets into that single crochet. So 1 and 2. Next, we're going to hop over to this first shell we see here, and we're going to go in the middle of that shell. So you'll have, remember it was 4 double crochets, so 2 on this side, 2 on this side, and in the middle is a space. Right in that space, we're going to work a single crochet. So go right in the middle of that shell, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. Then what we're going to do is hop over to the space in between the shells here, and you'll see a single crochet stitch right in the middle in between them. Work 4 double crochets in that single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 3, and 4. All right, hop over to the next shell and do the same thing. Right in the middle there in that space, work a single crochet right in the middle of that shell. And then hop over to the spot in between the shells, and you'll see that single crochet there. Work 4 double crochets right into that single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4, all in that same stitch. All right, up to the next shell here in the middle, right in the middle in that space, work a single crochet. Go in between the next two shells, right in the middle there, there's a single crochet stitch, work 4 double crochets in that stitch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, we're getting towards the end here. Last full size shell. This one's sort of like a half one. Go in between, in the very middle of that shell once again, and work a single crochet. And then go in that, we have like sort of like a half shell here, and the one we just worked, right in the middle there is a single crochet. Work 4 double crochets into that single crochet stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to go to the very end of the row, and you have 2 double crochets that we worked in the previous row, and then this was our turning chain. So right next to that is a space if you kind of open it up a little bit. So in that turning chain space, work a single crochet stitch. Okay? So let's look at what we've done here. Okay, so for the rest of our little soap saver here, we are going to keep repeating row 2 over and over and over again until we get a height of about 5 inches. Because when we fold our piece over to make our little pouch and seam it and everything, we're going to work to about 5 inches, okay? This will give us enough space to put the little bar of soap in there, and then we're going to do a little drawstring so you can tie it shut. Now, some people don't like the drawstring. They just want to slip the soap in there and not worry about it. So it's totally optional, but I'm going to show you when we come back how to finish up your rectangle. And then we're going to fold it in half, and we're going to seam all along the bottom here. And then we're going to seam up the side, so it'll just be an open pouch. And then we're going to make just a super simple little drawstring, and I'm going to show you how to put it onto the soap saver and finish everything up. So keep going until your rectangle is about 5 inches tall. Okay, just working that last single crochet of the row. And now we are at about 5 inches. That's the height that we needed to get for when we fold it over, the proper height for this, okay? So what we want to do now is we're going to cut a long tail, a nice long tail, because we're going to make a separate piece of yarn to seam. We're going to use the same piece of yarn. So I would say, about 24 inches or so, okay? So cut a nice long piece of yarn, and then you can put your hook back in that loop where you left off. And we're going to wrap the yarn around the hook and pull it all the way through to fasten off, okay? Now I cut a very long piece of yarn just to make sure that I had enough. I like to kind of do a little too much rather than not enough, and then you'll have to like start with another piece. So what we're going to do, I grabbed my tapestry needle. We are going to, I'm going to kind of shape it up a little bit. We are going to fold our piece in half so that those scallops are on top, and then we're going to take our piece of yarn and we're going to seam down the side and the bottom of our piece, and that will give us this lovely little soap sack or soap pouch, if you will. And then if you want to, you can just slip your soap in there and use it that way. We're also going to show you how to make like a long chain if you want to do like a drawstring with a loop on there as well, okay? So grab your tapestry needle and we're going to seam it up next. Okay, so we're going to thread our tapestry needle to begin. And then fold your piece so that the scallops are on top, like that. And then we are going to whip stitch this together all the way down and then along the bottom, okay? So all the whip stitches is we're going to just put like a spiral through our work. Now, as a side note, this closed shell stitch that we did is completely reversible. So whatever side you want facing the outside, they are the same, but if you want a certain side, if you like the way a certain side looks better, then make that on the inside. This will be the outside eventually, because we're going to turn it right side out, okay? So all you want to do is sandwich the two ends together, and we're just going to go in through both layers with our tapestry needle of our piece. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see. And we're going to pull this all the way through. Again, I made this a little longer than necessary so we don't run out. But we're just going to go down the whole side of this, seaming with our whip stitch seam. The whip stitch is, I like it and use it probably the most frequently of any seam because, whoops, we have a little knot here. I use it the most frequently because it is easy. It's a really easy, straightforward stitch, but it's also pretty invisible, especially when you turn it right side out. And that's why too we're using our tail, because it will pretty much disappear. Okay, so whenever I'm seaming, I like to go a little ways down, and then it's a good idea to once you get like an inch or two down your seam, to open it up and make sure it looks good. Make sure there's not any large gaping holes and everything's coming together nice and neat. Now you might have a few holes just because of the nature of our shell stitch. There are some natural holes throughout, little decorative holes, but you want to make sure you didn't like skip a whole section or something like that. You want it to have a nice neat seam, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and seam down the one side and across the bottom, and then we'll rejoin in just a moment and we'll do our little drawstring, our optional drawstring. Now, all right, just coming up to the end with our seam. And then we're going to pull it almost all the way through, leave a little loop, and you can send your needle right through that loop. And it'll create a knot. And I like to just do one more just to make sure everything stays put. And as you can see, we had a lot of tail left over. So you probably don't need as much as I did, but I like to just make absolute sure that my tail is not going to be in the way. All right, the next thing we're going to do is just go ahead and weave in the end while it's right here and we have our needle threaded. So I put my hand in the soap pouch so I can feel that it's not coming out on the other side, because we want it to stay on the inside. Remember, this is the inside of our little pouch. I'm just going to bring my tail through here, give it a little snip, and then what you can do is go ahead and turn it right side out. And again, you can use this pouch as is and just slip a little bar of soap in there. This is also good too if your soap gets small and you have little like scraps of soap. You could throw a few of those in there as well. But you could just use this as is and it looks very pretty like this. Or let's do a little drawstring on it as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a big loop so that you can hang it to dry from the big loop, but you can also pull it snug to keep everything in there and stay put, okay? So let's grab our hook again. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a slip knot on the hook once again. And then we're just going to start making chains. I'm going to make, you can grab your ruler. I'm going to make mine I want my loop to come out about this far to the 5-inch mark. I want it to go around and then out. So I'm going to double that because it's a loop, so it has to go around. So we're going to go up to 10 inches. I'm going to make a 10-inch long chain. Now you can make yours smaller if you like. It's totally up to you. So I'm just going to start making chains until I get to about 10 inches. Okay, so I made some chains. I'm on 30, so 31 and 32. So if we grab our ruler, and not the tail, but the knot where we began, I'm at about 10 inches on mine, okay? So then what we can do, and again, you can make yours any length you like. I'm going to grab my scissors and cut the yarn. So I did 32 chains or 10 inches, okay? So I'm going to cut the yarn, wrap the yarn around the hook, and bring it through the loop. Okay, just like that. The next thing we're going to do is grab our little soap pouch here, our soap saver. And all we're going to do now is weave this chain in and out of the top edge of our piece. So you can use some of these decorative holes, but the key here is to space them evenly. So if we look at our shell stitch, I'm going to put mine at the base of the shell, the top of the next shelf, the base of the shell, and so forth, okay? So I'm going to come up from the back and pull that chain through. Just leave your tail here. It's okay. And then I'm going to go in the top chain and then come up in the top of the shell, excuse me. So we're going to go over, under, all the way around. So we're going to go down into the top of that next shell, come up under in the base of the next shell, go down in the top of the next shell, come up under in the base of the next shell, and we're just going to do this all the way around. Now you can pick whatever kind of sequence that you like for your shells, but I figured that if I try to put them in the same place each time and go over, under, they'll be perfectly spaced, and it will look really nice, okay? So I'm just going to keep doing that all the way around, and I'm sort of holding that tail so I don't pull it too far through, okay? So we're going to go over, under, all the way around, and now, as you can see, we're back to where we started. So I'm actually not going to come back in the same hole. I'm going to go one before that, okay? So then what we want to do, you can take your tapestry needle out, and we're going to pull everything through. It's okay if it cinches right now. We're just tying a nice knot, but you want to get everything straightened out, okay, so that your chain is sort of in the same spot on both sides, okay? Actually, let me zoom out so you can see a little bit better here. Okay, so then we're going to take our two tails, and we're going to tie them together. Just like that. Okay, so we have a nice little loop. Now, I'm just going to trim this pretty close, and then what we can do is swivel it back so that the knot will be on the inside and you don't have to see it, okay? So go ahead and straighten out your piece, and you want this loop to sort of be on one side, okay? So I'm going to just pull this part here, okay? So now we have our little loop. The knot is on the inside, and it sort of disappeared into the inside of it. So now we have a loop. So when you put your soap bar or scraps in there, now you can pull the whole loop as one singular piece, and you have this cute little pouch. And then you have a loop to hang it as well when you're not using it. Or when you're done using it and you wash it, you can hang it to dry very easily too with the loop. You can hang it, the loop's big enough so you can hang it open, or you can pull it tight and hang it that way too. So our little soap saver is complete. It looks really pretty, and it matches all of the other projects that we're doing and will be doing for our summer spa getaway. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and also before we depart, be sure and join the Ravelry group and the Facebook group. It's where all the cowl makers hang out. It's a fun place to ask questions. You can show off your work, see what everybody's up to. The links are below. And that's it for today. So join me next week. We're going to continue with our projects, and that is how you crochet this lovely spa soap saver. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.